Hello friends, welcome to Medicine 101. Today we'll talk about skeletal muscle relaxants. Okay, so what are the drugs we can use? So before going in details of the topic, let's talk about what is skeletal muscles. We know these are the muscles that those that are getting attached with the different types of bones, cartilage, tendons, those things are known as the what skeletal muscles. And whatever the drugs we can use over here to relax the muscles. So we'll use in the nursing we can say that we'll just inhibit the muscular contractions. Okay, that's why we'll just do what the skeletal muscle relaxations. Okay, so basically, for example, if I just draw a little bit of the nervous system over here, so for example, let me okay, bear with me please. So this is the structures of the central nervous system. So we can use some types of the drugs, okay, that will directly act on the central nervous system. So in this cases, we can say in terms of that the central muscular relaxants are over here and the peripheral. Okay, so if we just talk about in terms of the classifications, so we can use the central muscle relaxants. I'm writing muscular relaxants means skeletal muscle relaxants. Okay? So central, that means if we use this type of the drug, okay, that will just inhibit the central processes. So that will inhibit the what? That will depress the CNS. So here we'll see that will what? Depress the CNS. Depress the central nervous systems. As a result, there will be no further contractions over that. And another is we'll talk about over here. That is a peripheral. So about peripheral, we'll talk about later. First, let me discuss about the central muscular relaxants. Here we'll talk about peripheral muscular relaxants. Okay. So first things, if we just talk about as far as the central is concerned, so we know that there are various types of the the inhibitory neurotransmitters. Out of them, we know one is what? The GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. We know GABA A. So if you can stimulate this one, or you can stimulate the GABA B over here. You can stimulate this one, or you can activate the alpha 2 receptors over here. So if you can use in these cases, so you can activate we can depress the CNS over here because they are the inhibitory neurotransmitter. So the first things, if we just talk about over here for the GABA, okay. So here whatever the drug we can use, there is the diazepam. So you can use over here just to stimulate the GABA A1 receptors. We can use the diazepam. Okay. And in case of the GABA based stimulation, we can use the baclofen. And in case of the alpha 2 stimulus, we can use tizanidine. So this type of 3 drugs we can use to depress the central nervous systems. They will activate it from this portion, so they will activate, depress this whole portion. They will depress the spinal cord as well as the brain. Okay, all the parts of the brain. Now, if there are also some extra, there are, let me write it over here. We can also inhibit the polysynaptic reflex. So the polysynaptic reflex, if we can inhibit them, the same thing we will also do in these cases. Okay, so the polysynaptic reflex. So what is polysynaptic reflex? That means whenever we know that through the in between the two neurons, we know there is a gap that is known as synapses. So in these cases, we will see that the neurotransmitter that will be not able to go from on presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane in these cases. Okay, so whatever of the drugs we can use over here, there are some groups of the drugs that is known as the methocarbamol. So in these cases, under will get the methocarbamol for the drugs. Okay, so it's in terms of, we can see in terms of the group over here. Okay, now here we'll get whatever the drug under it, fluoroxazone. We'll get try. We will get also along with that tricol. Over here, this type of the drugs we can use as far as the central muscular relaxants are concerned. Now if we talk about in terms of the peripheral, in peripheral we can use the directly or indirectly the both cases. Okay, we talk about in details. So in the peripheral muscular relaxants we can use, there are some the drugs they will act directly and there are some drugs that will act indirectly. Okay. Now if you talk about in terms of the whatever the drugs are over here that will act directly on the, actually in these cases whatever the thing we'll see, they will just inhibit the neuromuscular junctions. Okay, so the neuromuscular junction, this part will be blocked. So they will act on the NM receptors. So here we'll see they will act over the NM receptors. Let me write it over NM receptors. Okay, in these cases we will see just about the drugs. Now if we talk about in terms of the directly whatever the drugs we will see, we'll get dantrolene. How this drug works? Okay, so we know that basically we know that we in the circulatory reticulum they are on top of the receptors. Okay, so that is known as the ryanodine receptors. Ryanodine receptors. Now what they will do, they will block these ones. As a result, we will see the calcium will be not available to do the muscular contractions. So there will be what the less amount of the calcium over here. So muscular contraction that will be decreased. Okay, we cannot see the muscular contraction further in these cases. Okay. Now whatever the therapeutic uses we can see over here, there are some therapeutic uses of the dantrolene. Okay. Now in these cases, what can we say over here? Dantrolene. Now they are having some therapeutic uses, so we can use in case of the what? We can use in terms of the malignant hyperthermia. We can use in terms of the malignant hyperthermia. So this is the therapeutic uses for this one. And another type of therapeutic uses, what can you see over here? They are also neuroleptic syndrome. Okay, neurological epileptic syndrome. We can say also neuroleptic syndrome. So you can use over here in these cases. So the directly acting drug that we are getting dantrolene, within the dantrolene we have received that how they works over here, they will just block the ryanodine receptors. So the less amount of the calcium that will be available for the muscular contractions. So we can say in a word there will be no muscular contractions or very little muscular contractions. Whatever the other therapeutic uses we will get over here that they can be used in terms of the malignant hyperthermia, they can also be used in case of the neuroleptic syndrome. Okay. Now we'll talk about whatever the drugs we can use in terms of the indirectly. Basically we'll talk about over here they will block the neuromuscular junction over here. Okay. And if we just talk about in terms of them whatever the drugs or adverse effect of for this one, we can say they will cause the hepatotoxicity. Will cause the hepatotoxicity over here. Okay. Whatever the drugs we will use in case of the indirectly. Now within the indirect group of the drugs, further we can classify this one. That is what? Depolarizing and non-depolarizing. So depolarizing and non-depolarizing. Okay. Now we need to know whatever the drugs we can get in terms of the depolarizing. We'll get over here the succinylcholine. So we'll get over here what? Let me write another color. We'll get over the succinylcholine. So the succinylcholine is the what? Is the fastest, we can say over here is the fastest or shortest, we can say. Shortest drug. It will just cause the effect. It will take less than 5 minutes. It will take less than 5 minutes to cause the effects. Okay. So depolarizing. Now whatever the other uses of the therapeutics, so index we can see in terms of these things. Okay. At first, the thing is over here that they will cause instantly they will cause the muscular contractions. Okay. Initially, but further whenever it will work again, it will keep on working. At the end of the working part of it, we will see there will be relaxations. There will be relaxations of the muscles. Okay, now we can also use in case of the post-operative over here. can use in post-operative cases. You can also use this thing. Okay, but if we talk about in terms of the post-operative, in case of the muscular rigidity, there we are supposed to use the opioids. Okay, opioids, not the succinyl coil. Let me write it over here, another fluid. And whatever the things we'll see over here in succinylcholine, in the succinylcholine we will see they cause the hyperkalemia. They cause the what? Hyperkalemia. So if it can cause the hyperkalemia, so we are supposed to avoid this drug in case of what? The nerve injury, or if you see the cardiac arrhythmia, then we are supposed to avoid these drugs. We are not supposed to prescribe these drugs in those patients. Okay. Now we'll talk about in terms of the non-polarizing. Now in non-depolarizing, whatever the drugs we can use, the drug that is over here, the tubocurarine. Okay, let me write this tubocurarine. But there is a problem for the tubocurarine, that is having some allergic effects. Okay, so that can cause the bronchial constrictions. So that will lead to formation of the asthma or bronchial constrictions. Along with that will cause the vasodilations, or you can say that there will be hypotension. Okay. So the two effects, whatever the effects we are getting in non-depolarizing for the tubocurarine, we will get over here that the BP of the blood pressures, the systemic blood pressures, that will be decreased, or you can say the vasodilation. So we will get in non-depolarizing, but if you use the tubocurarine, we will get the formations of the or developing of the asthma along with that systemic or blood vessel fall down or the vasodilations. So we are supposed to, why? Because in this tubocurarine that can activate or that can release the histamine. So whenever it's normal to know that, all of you know it, whenever histamines will be secreted, definitely that will cause the asthma, bronchoconstrictions along with the vasodilation. So we can say in another way that will cause the blood vessels fall down over here, okay, for the vasodilation. Now just to prevent these things, we are supposed to use on group of the drugs that will cause, we will get the desired things along with that will prevent also the allergic phenomena over here, okay. So whatever the drugs will get over here. Now there are some groups of the drugs. Let me write the name of it. Okay. We'll get one type of the drug that is known as curium. Okay. What did I say? Curium. And another type of the drugs we'll get, that is curonium. So first one is curium. See, it's curium. Another will get curonium. So first one I got over here the curium. So in this curium cases we will get whatever the problem, okay. See, that is also having somewhat allergic effect, that is less allergic effect, that is also having some less allergic effect, not like this shot, not like the tubocurarine, okay. So whatever the drugs will get under this curium. So let me use something. So we will get atracurium and cis-atracurium. We get atracurium. Along with that, we will also get the cis-atracurium. We will also get the methocarbamol. And the methocarbamol, that is the shortest over here, okay, short acting. Now about the atracurium and the cis-atracurium, whatever the main important thing over here, okay, they don't need, so we can see in a word that they will follow the Hoffman's eliminations. So the atracurium and the cis-atracurium, they will follow the Hoffman's eliminations. That means we'll get over here spontaneous, non-enzymatic eliminations. That means they don't need the liver, okay, in these cases they don't need the liver or the kidney for its metabolism or its further complications. Okay, so we can use these two type of the drugs if there is like what renal injury, if there is some what renal problem or there is liver problem, there is no problem, you can use these two drugs. Okay, if someone is having, so if someone is having liver or the kidney problem, then without any thinking we can use these two drugs, okay, atracurium and the cisatracurium, because there will no problem as they can do the spontaneous non-enzymatic eliminations over here. Okay. Now we will talk about curonium. Okay, within the curonium we will get the many types of the drugs. Okay, so they will not release histamine, so no histamine over here. Whatever the drugs will get over here, actually it will be ending, the name of the drugs will get ending with the curonium. So we will get pancuronium. Whatever the drugs we are getting over here, we will get them. We will get pancuronium. We will get pipecuronium. Okay, I'm just putting the count. That means the curonium over here. Okay, we will get also vicuronium. So pancuronium, pipecuronium, vicuronium will also get the rocuronium. So we can say this, as they don't have the allergic effect, so they are the drug of choice in case of asthma. Drug of choice in case of asthma. Okay. Now, what type of the drugs we can use for these complications or to just avoid the adverse effects? So there are some reversible drugs that can cause the reversible effect for these things. So for that, so when you are using, for example, the persons there after the operations, so whenever the surgery is done, so we need to use the muscles in the normal conditions. So we need to have the muscles in the normal conditions. Just for these things, we need to use what? We need to use the activations of the muscles, muscular contractions. So we want again the muscular contractions. So as a result, we need to use what? We need to have